welcome to Startup to Success with Maria. My guest today is Alicia Sanchez, the author and founder of Dear God, Are We There Yet? Volunteer Community Foundation, where they connect people globally to communities and causes to make an impact through volunteering. Alicia, you don't understand how excited I am to have you here on the show.
Thank you.
Honestly, not only because of the book you wrote, but connecting people globally to communities and causes, that's big.
Yeah.
That's big. So tell me how you started.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I come from the fashion background. So I was really into the fashion background, and I went through life and, things happen and people were like helping me right and left. And as an Afro-Latina, I'm from Dominican Republic, I was raised in this culture where, we live in America, but we're always giving back to our country. We like do spring cleaning and we're always like, we got to give that to our uncles and our aunts and all this stuff. And I realized, I'm like, is that what volunteering is? I've been doing that all my life. So it's like, so I'm like, but I'm fascinated just by what I learned from people. And I think that's what volunteering is. It's that we learn from others by giving the most valuable currency, which is our time. And so I started a book and I transitioned from fashion into a nonprofit. And now we connect people globally between causes and communities, virtual volunteering, which is huge, in person as well, but virtually, because there's so many different causes because of COVID and everything that people need help. And we don't realize that. So in a nutshell, it was like, volunteering is something that I know that I've always been doing. I didn't know what the name of it was, but I wanted to take it a step further. And that's why it's not just connecting people, it's like connecting cultures. I think that's important, experiences. And you're also learning in the process about life, that you're not the only one going through whatever it is that you're going through.
And speaking of connecting cultures together, I have my group of friends, my closest friends are all from different cultures and they're all from different nationalities. And as a person, it helped me grow in a way that I don't see some of my other Armenian friends thinking mentally the way I think. I feel like I've simplified life to a level where, if other people in my culture see me, they might ask, well, wow, how did you get that way? Well, it's because I took all the best from other cultures. I literally took the best recipes, the best tips for skin, whatever, anything that my friends from other cultures say or do that's natural and it's a hack, whatever, I just did. And so I'm this combined multicultural person that uses different things from different cultures. So speaking of volunteer, that's something I've been doing all my life too, sending clothes and money to people in my country, to our relatives and friends all the time. But tell me how you took this idea that's so big and complicated. And when you said it, I was just like, oh my God, I don't even know where I would start from if I was to do something like this. How did you take that and actually bring it down to step by step to execute it?
Absolutely. And I want to just go back to your mention, because I think a lot of people will take that from what you're saying and what I'm saying. You were open-minded into understanding and learning about different cultures, no matter if you're Armenian. So I want to say that's where it starts with people, right? Just you were being open to being like, I want to learn what other people have to say. That's what we brought into the nonprofit. It's like learning what other nonprofits have to say. So basically, there are nonprofits globally that need assistance that people don't even know about. Just some in Southern California that I want to mention, because they're doing amazing work and they might not get the light that the American Red Cross might get or whatever. And they're doing so much impact. Influence Hers. I don't want to forget these main ones in Southern California, because we reach out to them and say, hey, you guys are a nonprofit. Do you need volunteers? What are your mission? What is it that you guys need? So like Influence Hers, they connect people to like educate them and empower women with opportunities to give back and connect through traveling, which is amazing. Magic Dance Arts, they mentor children. Urban Promise, Los Angeles, check them out. They empower children and advocate for them. I mean, the Stray Cat Alliance, we all see stray cats everywhere. And it's like,
Yeah.
who are these people who are doing those little things? And then the South Bay Literacy, they're teaching children, helping children with free English literacy tools and stuff. So we reach out to nonprofits like that and we say, how can we support you? And how can we bring you and advocate to the community? So it's honestly, it's like an inclusiveness. We have this platform. You can be at home. You can say, I have 30 minutes today, or I have an hour today, or whatever. Sign up, get your children involved. Like that's a huge one. And you can connect with people online and just volunteer with through these. So it seems like a big pull, like, you know, a whole thing, but I think it's just being vulnerable and saying, how can I help you? And let us help you, and we can help each other, because at the end of the day, we've got to get the word out for whatever cause. And that's why I wanted to do a volunteer community as a nonprofit, because I'm so passionate about so many different things. I'm passionate about women's rights. I'm Afro-Latina, so I'm passionate about people of color. Immigration I'm super passionate about. I'm passionate about all these things. Children, I have a daughter, she's a toddler, and you know, domestic violence, all that stuff. And it's like, I want to make a voice for all. I want to, say, help. And so those are the aspects of why I wanted a volunteer community, because I'm like, I don't want to leave anyone out. Whoever you're passionate about, let's get it on. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because, most people, and you seem so young to have figured out how to make your why efficient and possible, fulfilling all the different things that you're passionate about, because and that's the challenge that most people come across when they're passionate about several things, because most people are like, well, if you want to know what to do and what your why is and how to pick the right career or whatever, think of your passions. And my answer was always, well, I don't have one, I have like 20.
Exactly.
I love 20 different things. How do you want me to choose? I can't choose.
You don't have to choose. You don't have to choose.
But
absolutely don't.
But what you've done is, I mean, it's genius. You've really taken something that is so simple, right? It's just, okay, how can I fulfill all these different things that I'm passionate about by doing one thing? And I think that's genius. That is really hard to think of, because I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. I am passionate about women business owners. I'm passionate about women making money on their own terms. And I'm passionate about startups. I'm passionate about marketing. And then when I think of how can I connect it all for it to be one thing, I'm still trying to figure it out. And I'm in my 40s. Okay.
And that's okay. And that's okay. You don't even have to connect it all. I think that we have to do, because I call it like it's like a road trip. We're at different times in our lives. Who I was like 2 years ago before my daughter was completely different than now. Now, everything that I do, it's like, I want to leave a legacy, generational wealth. I want to teach her that she's powerful, that she can use her voice without, feeling a certain way. Like, so, but I'm a different person. So it's like, now I'm more passionate. She's teaching me more things. And it's like, sometimes we can, as long as we're happy and as long as we're helping others, we're trying to help others, because we're helping ourselves too. When we're helping others, we find out so much about ourselves. And I love how you said that you are passionate about helping women create their businesses and entrepreneurship. That's huge, because some women, like, they feel like, I can't do this, like this, it's impossible, or I have to rely on someone. And because culture tells us that we have to do X, Y, Z. And I love that. And you can do it all. Just, as long as it makes you happy.
And that's why I started this show, because I wanted to not only share other people's journeys, but my own journey in real life and real time I have two companies. I run Roma Leaf as well as Globify, which is more established. Globify is a 5-year-old company that I sort of got lucky, and I got, when I left New York Times, I ended up having New York Times join my, I'm so sorry, they became my first client. So it kind of gave me that break of the ability to, start the company easily with New York Times being the client. But with Roma Leaf, it was a lot more challenging, being in the CBD industry with all it's challenging.
Yeah.
And I think that's what drove me to want to help other women entrepreneurs, because going into that space, I felt like I knew nothing about, and constantly being challenged and restricted to do things was like, how do people that don't have marketing
I
skills
know.
market their companies? How do people do this? Like, this is hard. And that's what drove me to want to give back to my community and to the women out there and say, listen, you're not alone. I feel your pain now, because luckily with the other business, I didn't feel the pain as much, but now I feel the pain and I want to give back. And here, here you go. Like, this is how I'm going to give back. But, so it's interesting because I asked this question to someone else, and I said, when people are starting nonprofits, what advice do you have for them to be able to really, think of something that doesn't necessarily exist or isn't saturated in the marketplace, right? And I love how, like, I would love for you to share, what process did you go through in order to figure out if there was this need in the marketplace for you to come up with the solution that you have?
Yeah. So the number one thing was, what we wanted to focus on was advocacy, getting people out there. And what are the number one thing to keep a nonprofit alive? There's actually two things: funding and volunteers. Yeah. Without volunteers, there is not one nonprofit in this world that will function, because when a catastrophe happens, or when the government decides to change something, or who are those people advocating? Who are those people stepping up and being activists? Who are those people sharing and, taking time and changing their lives? That is volunteers. They're not getting paid. These are people who really believe in the cause. And so I knew that that was something that they always needed. Funding was something that I can assist to the community level. That's why we have a micro grant where we want to help community. But from the aspect of what's the need, it was, these nonprofits need volunteers. So what can I do to be that person? So I always call myself like the Match.com or the Tinder of nonprofits, because I connect you. And people will say to me, like, I didn't even know there was anything called virtual volunteering. Or they would say, I never even knew that there was a nonprofit for that. And I'm like, yeah. And I've met people that told me, bad things have happened in their lives, where there's children that have passed away from a drunk driver, whatever the case might be, neglect from a hospital. They opened up their own nonprofit, and guess what? Hundreds of thousands of people have that same issue. Yep. So how can we get them have it out there? So I felt that was the number one need. And then the next one is like, we get volunteers, but how can we change now? Like, I can't solve, I always say this, like, I can't solve hunger. Right. I can't solve homelessness, but I can put solutions in. How can we have people to learn how to grow their food? How can we employ these homelessness or get them mental health? Resources. Like, we're not going to solve it overnight, but what can we do to get closer to that? And I think that was my whole thought process. So my advice to people who want to open a nonprofit, like, one, a nonprofit is not yours. It is a collaborative, it's yours and the communities. Right. And be open to that. There's so many founders that are like, this is mine. And I'm always asking my team, like, what do you guys think? Okay, what is this? Like, my board members, I'm like, let's just brainstorm, like, together. It's not mine, it's ours. And if we're thinking that way, change comes, because that's how it needs to be.
I love that. You're such an inspiration, Alicia.
Oh, thank you.
Like, wow. So speaking of funding and grants, you mentioned it, right? Yeah. Like, those are the two main things that a nonprofit needs. So how do you, what's your way to make sure that you have funding to run your nonprofit?
Absolutely. So the number one thing that when I open this, because I come from a business background in fashion, and it's always about being self-sustainable. I always told myself, like, how can we self-sustain ourselves? So the number one thing is our employee volunteer program for companies. They help us. We have a fee for them, and we provide an employee volunteer program for their employees. So it's just like a benefit. That is one way of income that we get in. Plus, employers have access to hundreds of people because they're employees, they're contractors. So we say, this program is not just to connect you. We have well-being activities. We have culture experience partnered up with Airbnb experiences. So that's one way. We have our Crafts Create Change book that's coming out, to, again, for people to purchase this book, to buy, to make the crafts and donate. We have our Worldly Kids box, where we say, some people might not know how to have these conversations with their kids about, racism or financial literacy or critical thinking. So we give them a box, we send them a book and a t-shirt that's empowering. And every month there's a theme about real life events. By the way, no child is too young to learn about social good, social impact, and on and on. So these are just some elements, but we want to say to our community, we're going to find ways to fund ourselves, because when you give us money, it's directly for our micro grants, which is people that we give for their social good projects. So that is one way. Of course, we apply for grants and stuff from the government. But I would say the number one thing is that we want to try to be self-sustainable in our model, because we don't always want to tell the community, give us, because we want to try to find the solution, right? So when we say give us, that fund is for people right in the community, which it can be them, So that is our goal.
That's awesome. So grant writing, tell me a little bit about that. Is that like a job in itself, or
not even? I don't even do it. Looking at the application gives me like it's just a lot. And again, a part of the problem, you have so many causes that have these great things. We have to do like this dissertation, I feel, for a grant writing. And then the government ends up saying, well, you don't fit that because you didn't say that one correct word, or you didn't fit the bill. And so again, grant writing is just so much, but it's needed because there are funds out there. It's just a task. And so that's why I'm so passionate about finding other ways to sustain ourselves. And thinking about, we're thinking about doing a cultural center in the future, like just other ways that we can say, we're trying to figure this out and act like a business. That's what it is. Like a nonprofit, we're nonprofit, but you've got to think like a business. You can't think just like relying on the community, because when COVID hits, what happens? People lose their jobs, and what happens to your nonprofit? You're just like, oh my God, I can't now, so it's like, but grant writing, girl, don't even talk to me about that, because oh my gosh.
I feel like, it's so interesting. I ended up taking on a government contracting opportunity for my marketing agency. Ago with City of LA. And it's they're launching RAMP, which is a regional marketplace alliance for procurement. And they partnered with Salesforce to really simplify the platform for businesses like yourself too. You can go register and find all these different opportunities that not only the city and the government opportunities, but also private opportunities, right? Like companies like Cedars-Sinai and USC and all these different major Fortune 500 companies around us that would put procurement opportunities. Now, the purpose of this platform that they're launching in a few weeks is to simplify things, and so that people can find and connect each other with each other easily, versus how it was before, just like grant writing. It was just a place you did not want to go. So my hope, it's so interesting. Today I heard Mayor Garcetti's video that he just made regarding this RAMP, the launch of the RAMP program. And I thought to myself, God, I hope the government starts picking up on this stuff and uses technology companies like Salesforce to really up their game, because it's so backdated. The systems are horrible. The documents are too much. I looked at one document and this wasn't even grant writing. This was just a bidding opportunity, an RFP for marketing services. And I looked at the opportunity, just the RFP was like ridiculous. 30 pages.
Yes.
And I'm just like, how am I supposed to read this 30-page RFP, put a proposal together, and then you're going to select the proposed bid that is the lowest cost? Like, how does that make sense? Like, why are you putting us through so much work? This is so inefficient. So
It
something
is.
like, I want to start a nonprofit.
Right?
You know that, like, and you're right, there's so much money out there,
Yeah.
literally sitting
Yeah.
on the table.
Yep.
And most people that need it don't go after it because they're like, I'm not capable. I don't
Yeah.
have time, or I don't even know how. I'm not
Yeah.
an attorney to read a 30-page
Exactly,
paper.
exactly. Or you're not understanding, like I before we spoke on this call, I said to you, English is my second language. And
Yeah.
there's some things that when I'm reading it and
Yeah.
I understand things, but the way the system works and legally, those things can get you in there and you're like, I don't even want to do this anymore. And
Yeah.
especially for women and women of color, there's a lot of grants out there, but it's just like, where are they? Do I have time?
Yeah.
Will I even be selected because I'm responding correctly? So yeah, that's a great nonprofit idea.
I was just like, I need to find the and being part of this ramp marketing campaign, we're literally, my agency's in charge of sharing and creating awareness about the ramp portal that's about to launch in a week, to share this with women organizations, women nonprofits, women chamber of commerce, anything women business entrepreneurial related. That's my job, to spread the word amongst them. And I was just like, this is, and when I was doing my own pitching and art, I'm just like, like so annoying. And then, it was so interesting when I first got started and thought about pivoting to government opportunities. I hired a consultant because I was lost in the ocean. I was just like swimming by myself. I'm like, do I go right? Do I go left? Where do I go? I don't know. Do I get certifications? I did my complicated certification on SAM.gov. And then I'm like, okay, what now? And then when I hired the consultant said, you don't need all of that. You just need ABC, and that's it. But I was in a place where I could hire a consultant and get the help that I needed, where most people don't, or don't know that the consultants exist.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, like, where did you find these consultants? Because I
Score.org, score.org, SBCD. SBCD is a good one. I can recommend, and SBCD actually has a consultant who would be free for you. Like, you wouldn't even have to pay for it because they're a nonprofit. Funded.
I didn't even know that.
So I'm happy to share that with you. You can get all the certificate. I just got my women-owned business certificate that I'm
nice.
But it's anything I feel like that has to do with the government is very challenging. And I know they're trying to change that, and it's hard for them to change it also. But as we're thinking of the end goal, right? Like, what is the end goal? You're trying to solve a problem. You're trying to get more volunteers to be involved in nonprofits that are actually making a difference. And if there's a platform that connects and makes it easy and keeps you in business, so that you can continue doing it, that's ultimately the way to go. But have you looked at any private sponsorships, like private company sponsorships?
So through our employee volunteer, that's the way that we do the sponsorships. It's what they're paying us because we're a nonprofit. We can't necessarily say this is the fee, and it would be kind of like, because if we're tax exempt. So that's how we approach it. So we go to the company or an organization and say, you don't have this on your benefits. Like, you don't have a volunteer day. What do you have what are your DEI initiatives for your business? Like, how are people how are you creating safe spaces in the work culture to speak about the uncomfortableness? And because sometimes you do need a third party. Like, sometimes you do need, because employees do feel they're not going to say really how they feel sometimes. And they're like, oh, I'm going to get fired if I start talking about this. But if there's a volunteer program where there's a platform which they access on their app, they can volunteer. There's other activities, like I said, Airbnb experiences. They have virtual, so they can even do like an excursion in Kenya, and they learn about the culture right from home, and they start to think about the world differently and so many different things. And so that's the safe space that when we go into businesses. So we try to do small and medium size. We would love to have larger companies,
Yeah.
with more than 200 employees.
Yeah.
That's where we really want to head. But we're new, so we're trying
Yeah.
to say, let's take the steps and let's connect with who we can, and share that volunteering is not just about your time, but it's also about you're learning about yourself. So that's why we always say, like, volunteer it's about learning about you and how you fit in this world, and your family, like how
Yeah.
you do the easy things, like you know what, I'm going to start spring cleaning,
Yeah,
let's start talking
exactly.
to your kids about why it's good to like spring clean, or what is
Yeah.
privilege,
Yeah,
and all these
exactly.
things. Yeah.
When we do spring clean, well, for me in my household, spring cleaning is literally every month. And
Exactly, I know what you
my
mean.
mentality is, when you give, you get.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
give. Come on, girls. And I have two teenage daughters.
Aw.
And I feel like the less clothes they have, the less messier it is. So I just every month I'm like, anything that you're not wearing, please give it to me. Give it to me. I need to give it to donate it here or whatever. And so and I embedded that in their head, that giving creates energy for it to
Yes,
come back.
it
So you
does.
got to give if you want to
Yes.
receive. And so wow, okay, so I have so many questions for so little time.
I
Okay,
know.
so tell me a little bit about how people can support you, the
Yeah.
listeners, if they're interested in donating, or if they're a nonprofit and they're interested in
Yes.
working with you, or if they're a company and they have employees, like how do
Yes. Absolutely. DearGodAreWeThereYet.com. You can come to our webpage. We have different aspects on there. So if you want to volunteer, you can go to say volunteer. It'll take you to our virtual hub where you can start looking. I mean, you can put your city, your state, and they'll just come up of what opportunities. And we keep that very frequent. We up like every week we update hundreds of volunteer opportunities, and we take down some because sometimes they're like short term if it's virtually. And if you're a company, you can still go ahead and contact us there. Their program is called Impact Connect, but you can still contact us, and we would love to speak with you. The best thing is it's affordable because it's something that employers can give and provide. I think it's like $2 per employee. Like, it's super inexpensive.
yeah,
And it's because we want to create more value than anything else, because we're in it for social good. We're not in it for anything else. Of course, the money helps us drive, but we do have a funding promise in there. We have Crafts Create Change book that's coming out. If you're a crafter, you like sewing, you like to do art, this book, you can make these crafts with your family and donate them. And craftscreatechange.com. And what's great is there's a directory in there. So if I want to, there's a project in there. A lot of people don't know, but foster care children, when they get into foster care, like when they're taken from their homes at the middle of the night, sometimes they're giving a garbage bag. They're like, here, put your clothes in, we're going to take you.
wow.
How does that make a child feel? It makes you feel like, why are you giving me a garbage bag?
Yeah.
So there's so many nonprofits that are actually raising money for bags, but some crafters say, you know what, let me make one. So one of the projects in there, they can make bags, there's all kinds of projects, and they can donate it to their local department, DCF.
Wow.
There's a whole bunch of information on there, but people can get involved just by even sharing this interview, on just tagging someone, saying, I want you to watch this video.
Yeah.
I want you to hear about these women opportunities. I want you to, that is how you can, it doesn't cost you anything to share it. It doesn't cost you anything to tag someone, because you're going to learn something from this interaction, but also it's going to make you think about someone in your life that could use these resources. So yeah, DearGodAreWeThereYet.com.
I love it. I love it. That's something we can never forget. Dear
Yeah.
God,
Are we there yet?
I ask God that all the time.
I know.
Like, am I there yet? Am I getting close to what my purpose is? I love it. I love it. I have a question in terms of volunteers. Now, would internships fall in this category at all? If, let's say, a company has an internship program, is there an ability where you guys could provide the interns in a way where, the company can pay you something in return for it. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Absolutely. I love that you asked that, because that's part of our Impact Connect. We do have that
Oh,
aspect, because
okay.
what happens is that sometimes companies want to have their employees learn about different skills.
Right.
And so let's say I'm a designer and I really need to learn about marketing, and I want to volunteer. And so you become an intern per se with other nonprofits
Okay.
to learn about marketing of, let's say, technology. I'm just giving an
Yeah.
example. And employers like that because it gets their staff thinking about how business works, or how the space of whatever their industry is. Another thing I wanted to mention is that what sets us apart is that you, myself, my neighbor can actually post a volunteer opportunity.
Ooh,
It's not just for
I like
nonprofits.
that.
Because what happens is, like, I have an elderly neighbor, and let's say they need help with, they speak a different language that I don't know. And yes, we can connect with Facebook, but we see that, like, the Facebook just has all these different things, and people
Yeah.
have all these comments and all that stuff. It's to volunteer program. So when people create an account, we screen them, we make sure who you are. You're not going to go on there and talk about stuff. Yeah, I know someone who speaks Polish.
Right.
Can you connect with them? And yeah, it can be that advocacy for my elderly neighbor. Like, it's little things like that. Or I live in Orlando, and XYZ, I need someone. And of course, within reason, depending on what you can post, but it's little things like that. And I will say this, when the pandemic started, there was several people that came on and posted about just needing help how to write a resume. I had a lady who has not been in the working field for over 30 years. Her husband passed from one day to another. This lady wrote me and she said, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know when the phone bill is due. I don't know where to pay anything. I don't even know. She said, Alicia, I don't even know how to put gas in my car,
Oh my goodness.
because her husband
Did everything. Yeah.
And I posted that into that volunteer. We had to literally take it off less than 24 hours because people were so responsive in helping her. We had people help her with a resume. We had people help her locally make calls for her, like helping her, not just doing it. See, that's the thing. They were teaching her.
That's amazing.
And just within like 30 days, she wrote back to me and she's like, I cannot tell you how I found your website on just a random search, but how grateful I am that I feel like I'm living life all over again. And that's just an example that, like, there are so many people out there, we think that they know how to do all these things, and she didn't. And now she has a job. She says she works at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Nice.
She says she loves it. Like, there's all these different things. And she met all these amazing people that she had Thanksgiving with, like, virtually. It's awesome. Crazy. Yeah. And
there's so much kindness out there.
Yes,
and I love that you're bringing that together, and you're connecting the kindness with the people that need that kindness. That's amazing.
Yes.
I love it. So you mentioned people can go on deargod.com and donate. And then are you doing any fundraising?
Yes, we actually last year we did our virtual fundraising. This year we're gonna go we're gonna do an actual doggy. It's called Project Runway. It's a fashion show, a dog fashion show. Yeah,
I like that.
We're still planning it, and it's going to be to raise money for the micro grants, and then we will definitely want to give a percentage to a local, like, dog pantry or a rescue. So we're still in the planning phases, but I feel like it'll be outside so people can be safe. We're just trying to connect with community. I think that we lose that sometimes in the virtual space, but yeah, our fundraising this year, we hope to have a Project Runway dog fashion show. But if people are not local, of course, they can go ahead and go online, give us suggestions of nonprofits, like, just connect with us.
Yeah. Now, the micro grants, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah.
You're raising for that. What is that exactly?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of people in our community that are doing amazing things. There's, we actually had a coach where she wanted to create a program for women that were recently that were incarcerated and came out. And she wanted to teach them about how to open up their business. So she created a course for them. She was doing this for her own self. She wasn't charging. She wasn't doing any of this stuff. And it's an example like her. someone in our community who is doing something for without being told, and looking at these pockets, teenagers who are getting together to advocate for, I'll give you an example, for people about their speed limit and accidents and all that stuff. So we want to support those causes and all kinds of people. A teacher who's doing ESOL after school. We all know that the education system does not give teachers enough money. So they apply for our micro grant, and we choose every quarter, and we give them resources. We give them some funds, but we also say we partnered with Masterclass. So they get a 1-year subscription to Masterclass to learn about different other things within their space. And we also do like a orientation. It's like mandatory, where they learn about email marketing and really getting their cause out there. So we're not just saying, here's money, have a nice day. We're saying, how are you going to get people on your email list? Because no one, ever your followers don't mean anything, but email does. And how can you learn and continue? And so thanks to Masterclass, because they have been so generous, and they gave us memberships that we can give for 1 year to all our applicants. So so apply if you have a social good project. If you're doing something.
That's amazing.
I've
been doing pro bono work for the past 1.5 years.
Awesome.
I partnered with score.org, and I started teaching more advanced marketing for smaller businesses, but it's marketing that is different, like podcast advertising, or micro influencer marketing that's barter rather than paid. Just really interesting ways to get the word out about your product or service. And I started doing that, and I actually did come up with a course. It's literally a 7-step, but sort of a course that teaches you how to start and run your online business, or just any business.
I love it.
But online is where my expertise is. So I really emphasized on that and simplifying it. And so, I mean, I've been meaning to launch that course and just give it pro bono to women that need it. But I never thought that there's a grant that I could potentially get to maybe hire someone to help me with email marketing, or help with consultation. Because a lot of the times when I teach something, they come back to me asking if I can consult them for an hour, or listen to their idea and help them strategize. And so that takes time. And, when you have to still support a family and you have kids, it's hard to do pro bono all the time. And
that's why we have a micro grant. And somebody said to me the other day when she applied, I said, it's a micro grant. It's not going to make your business float forever. But she said, you know what, Alicia, every dollar counts, because for that micro grant, I think it was the one that she got was like $250. She said, I can do so much. I can put ads out. I can take a course for $97 to teach me how to do whatever. She's like, I can do so much. And those are the steps. And so that's why we do it, or for a teacher that needs to buy supplies, or a printer, like something as simple as a printer, it's,
Do they have to be a nonprofit, or they just?
No, it could be anyone.
Okay.
It could be, we even have applicants that are under 18, as long as with their mothers or fathers, because there's children out there. It's incredible. There's children out there that are being advocates for other children, and they're young, and they might need help on, maybe a bus ticket for something, or whatever the case is. So they apply to the micro grant, of course, what their parents have to apply for them. And we look at what it is. There was a little boy that he wanted to, it was like advocate for children on the spectrum, and getting them in the private schools. Some private schools don't have like all the classes that all the other kids like tech, coding and all that stuff. So he was advocating for like on the spectrum coding or whatever, and just the basics where it's like and he was trying to raise like $1,000. I'll just give you an example. And it's like, he's doing something so awesome, and he's like 10, so it can be anyone. It's our community.
That's awesome. Now for the micro granting, obviously you're raising funds to be able to do this.
Exactly. That's the whole point. So all our funds that come in, if people donate us, if you donate, 100% goes through that. If we get a nonprofit, if we get a business from Impact Connect, like the volunteer program, 95% of that goes. We have a funding promise. It's so specific. If you buy a shirt from our website, 80% goes to that. Our book, 80%. Like everything specific, because community is what drives us.
Yeah,
And
I love it. I love it. We're going to have all your details in the show notes, and I
yeah.
think I'm going to bring you back again because
Oh yeah.
it's been 40 minutes and our show
I
is almost
know.
over. But yeah, you're going to come back again because I want to talk more about ways to market and promote. And I'm sure our listeners would want to learn more from you. But again, if you can just repeat where people can connect with you, donate, or whatever, with you, or be the company that supports you by taking advantage of the Impact Connect that you have.
Yes. Dear God, are we there yet.com, and you'll get everything is on there.
I love it. Alicia, you are such an inspiration. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank
and
you.
good luck with everything.
Thank you.